Hey, so it was fun. That was fun to look at your progress and your prototyping, your mock-ups for your dev um, 2, of which I will talk about in a moment, the timeline and something I've changed about it. But I just want to tell you that that this process that you're going through, you can continue next week. I've decided and I've looked at next week. There's no video for the Learn Together. It's basically just saying continue, right? Continue working on this. So I just want to say, based on where we're at with this class, is that we're going to finish T-Kenter. I'm finally getting that right next week, which is the week, right? Week 15. So you will have everything you need to do Dev 2. Okay. So what I'm going to suggest to you is that you do it. You go ahead and do it because the rest of the content is just leveling up, understanding, getting some experience with OOP. We're using classes, right? And so what I would say is that now, and even if you decide to refactor your graphical, the T-Kenter, into a class, right? Meaning there's nothing really about the output itself that's changing. It's really how you're handling each particular objects that are object being created by your user input. So, and I know because some of you haven't had that concept, you might be going, Rio, I don't know what you're talking about. And that's okay. So what I'm trying to suggest to you is do your dev 2 right now. Go ahead. And I think some of you already are. So I'm probably, you've ever heard this term preaching to the choir. Hopefully you are, because it's a great idea. It's the great timing. And if you decide that you get it done, you're like, oh, cool, I have this. Maybe I want to implement the class into it, you can, but you can go ahead and do your code review with me without having done that part if you want. So sometimes choices are bad, but in this case, choices are good. So what I did this morning is I went ahead and I took my rock, scissors, paper game, brought it into this semester, looked at it, changed the formatting to be PEP 8, which took me a few minutes. I'll just show you the code right now. I have no PEP 8 issues, and part of it was just because on some of this, especially on the way, not here's the leaderboard, but on the way that the show game, right? That these are just lines are so long, so you just kind of have to play with them to figure out. Right? But just remember, when you wrap your next line, it wants to go over. In this case, because it opens the parentheses, I need to start right after that. And so just, in this case, because this is two attributes on this, or two parameters being called on grid, again, it needs to go right underneath it. So sometimes it's just making sure you have it. And now that I look at it, it totally makes sense why they do it, because you can clearly see when you're looking at 134, where I set the title, I set the name plus the email on the grid, and then the grid has we're passing the grid 3 parameters. So you can clearly see those grouped together by the way the 2 lines are formatted. So Isaac, the more I use PEP 8, the more I like it. So thanks for suggesting it. I like it. So anyway, I'll just run mine just to have you click in here so I can start the debugging, although I don't have any debugging setting on here. So one thing, and I'll just pull it over, right? One thing I struggled with, I remember when I did this last time, was getting the graphics the way I wanted. I couldn't really get them, so I ended up, right? But I still used my validation so that, right, if somebody is, you have to have a valid email to play, right? So there we go. And I wanted to use some graphics that I had done from another project, but for some reason I just could not So I just keep playing and playing and playing. And then when I quit, then it updates the leaderboard here. So it's fairly simple output, but I'm okay with that because it still meets the requirements of writing to a file, getting user input, having some kind of summary data, right? It still meets the requirements. But my goal will be actually now that I've done this, just to show you the example, right? I talked about last week the importance of making sure that you're handling the file references. And so you can see again, I use the same ones that I did before with referencing the way the files are, with using that line of the absolute path. Again, it's, what you want to do. And I actually ended up loading in my virtual box. For those of you that this is a new concept to you, I code on a Mac, but I use VirtualBox to run Windows. And I wanted to make sure my code was also compatible with Windows because I kept saying to you, make sure your code works on Linux or Mac. I thought, well, I need to go the other way, and absolutely this did it. This line of pulling the reference from the working directory is totally works both ways. So I was happy with that solution. So I'm just giving you this example. It's loaded out on GitHub in the public. So I just want to say that. Okay. And then again, it was really fun to see what you all did last night. I think I only saw one person that actually didn't embed the file correctly. So make sure, and the reason I do the embedding is so that your images are out on GitHub and they don't, I don't want to say bloat, but in a sense, because when you're, and this is off topic, but when you're uploading images into Canvas, that's loading them into Canvas. And it just bloats out my Canvas shell, and I try not to do that for the campus. It's just something I I have a thing about. So make sure you embed those. And I say that because next week, again, take this time, take this opportunity. This is my whole, when I started like this discussion, like take this opportunity, if your schedule allows, to actually go ahead and get your Dev 2 done, because at this point next week, right after you do the colong, you have everything you need. Now, one thing I will tell you I did is I didn't use the idea of the window. I ended up just using, and you can see this in my code if you want to take a look at it. I just destroyed what was in the frame and then I just rebuilt it every time I transitioned from my game back to my leaderboard, my kind of simulation of a login. But I ended up not using window, which by the way, you can totally use window. It's totally fine. I'm just telling you, I didn't because I like the idea of staying on one page kind of concept. So you can see that as well. Okay, so let me transition to my last topic for the day, which is I made a change. And I've made a change to the Dev2 timeline. After thinking about this, and like when I said last week, because I heard myself say this, like, you have to have the code reviews done by Thursday and that's the due date. I thought, well, you know what? It wouldn't hurt, I believe, to move the due date 2 days forward. So what I did, and I'll just show you the calendar, is that it was before due on the 20th, and then you had to do your code review somewhere in there. And I think like there's something about having an actual due date that makes you do it. I'm actually hoping, now that we've talked about this and now that you've actually had the experience of starting to mock up, that you'll actually go ahead and complete the implementation of the GUI for your dev one, right? But regardless, I think sometimes we're just human and we need due dates, right? So tell me when it's due. So I'm making it due 2 days forward in that week 18 of the semester. So instead of the 20th, I'm moving it to the 18th. Now, why am I doing that? What I said before, which is I'm trying to get you to get it done early enough, but I am going to do code reviews. So I'm about to show you what I haven't released yet, which is the last code review schedule, sign up schedule. Okay. So I'm just going to tell you, I think this time, I hope this isn't causing it, but I'm actually going to release this about Monday around noon, and I will post the link into the Discord. So I think most of you in this class are on the Discord, or hopefully between the Discord and here, you will see this and look there, because on Monday at noon, I will release this schedule. So here's what it is. So I'm just following my office hours, right? So this is just my office hours for that week. So it starts in week 17 before this semester ends. I start on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Monday, Tuesday. It's due Tuesday night. I clearly try to show this idea of before the due date. Remember, the benefit of working before the due date is if you come in and there's a few issues, you can still work on them and fix them by that due date, right? But if you're coming in after, then what you need to have made sure you submitted that code here by Tuesday night. And I've shown here review and assistance again. Just to be clear, if you're only coming in for an assistance session during this time, you still need to come in for a code review. Okay. So just keep that in mind. I think that was one of the few questions I had last time. So I'm releasing this when? Let's see if you heard me. Can I hear echoes of your future self saying when? When I'm going to release this is on Monday, right? Coming into week 15. So, FYI. I have moved the due date forward 2 days. You can do a code review for I have 2 days following the due date that you can do code reviews. You can do a code review sooner than this, right? So again, I'm trying to encourage you to kind of increase that timeline and if I didn't say this, let me say this. Even if you get your dev to implement it into Tkinter the way you want it, right? That looks fine. And then you decide, you know what? I'm going to attempt the class or the idea of the OOP for my concept. It's totally fine. As a matter of fact, I recommend it, even if you get your dev 2 done, your code review done, because that way you're ahead of the game. And really, a lot of this about programming, the thing I would say to you is it really is like self-motivating. I mean, the structure of a class like this should help you drop into a schedule, into a structure of, code alongs, learn together, and devs that help you motivate you to get that done. But I can tell you, people that do well in this industry are generally just self-motivated to continue. Like, don't stop after this class either, right? Like, continue your continue your skill development. Now, having said there is a thing over the summer for Tableau, which if you're into data science are interested in learning that side of, because oftentimes people that are taking Python are also interested in data science. I got a thing to sign up for a training this summer, which I think I'm also going to attend. I guess that's the idea of continuing, right? Continuing to learn. Okay, so that's it for me today. What's cool is that we are going to have some new content that I haven't been through starting after next week. So week 16 and 17, I already know what the video we're going to cover. And so I will be doing code alongs for those as well because I haven't done them yet. So that'll be fun. Getting me in the thinking of how I want to first, because my goal, I will tell you, is to take my EV, convert it into, or refactor, it's probably a better word, into the graphical user interface, and then at the end, implement a class to handle the substantiation of those objects. Okay, so have a great weekend, and I will talk to you soon. Peace out.